Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about work-life balance because if you are anything like me, you didn't have work-life balance or you didn't know that it existed, or for some reason you put it in your head that that's a selfish thing to strive for. And I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. So let's start off with why I think this is such an important topic. For me, I feel like I thought that being a social worker or being a therapist, being a mental health provider meant that I have to always be there for other people. I have to provide and give, and all of that is true. And I care about people, but if you don't care enough about yourself to take care of you, it's really hard to take care of other people. And I kind of had to learn that the hard way because I think a lot of our jobs, and I'm not saying that every professor said this or every supervisor, it's no one in particular, but just in general, a lot of our jobs, they have crisis intervention or you're on call. Like I can remember I was working for DCF at the time in Connecticut. In California, it's DCFS. Different places have different acronyms, all the same thing. The point is, you were on call. And it was very normalized to be on call in this field. Crises happen, you never know when. So I would be woken up at like 3 in the morning. I got to go out and do an investigation, or I got to go see something or whatever. And it's like, there's nothing against it. I'm not saying don't do it. First of all, it's a great experience. But at some point, I decided I can't do this forever. Like, I can't continuously do this. I'm happy I have the experience, but like you don't wake me up at 3 a.m. anymore. Okay. Now I might get some backlash on that because people will be like, we need people who are there. Absolutely. 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 So if that's something that's good for you, do it. But there's also nothing wrong with wanting work-life balance. If I worked a shift from, I think at DCF, I worked 8 to 4. Or 8 to 4:30 because the half-hour break or something like that. So if I work 8 to 4:30 and now it's finally Friday, I want to go home. I don't want to be on call. Now, granted, when I was working there, there was a rotation. So you weren't on call every weekend. I'm not trying to lie and be dramatic about it. But still, like, you do a lot. And just because you work 8 to 4, what happens when crisis comes up? And some days I was there until 9 or 10 at night because maybe something happened and I had a kid with me that I couldn't bring home or whatever, right? So I thought that, hey, this is just a part of the job. I had other jobs where you were on call pretty frequently. I had jobs who you weren't technically on call, but if there was an emergency, you were on call. Again, nothing wrong with it, just saying you have to know your limits. There were some times where I was so tapped out, and when you're tapped out, you're not helping your clients in the way that you need to, because what's that cliche? You can't pour out of your cup what you haven't poured into it or whatever. Like if you're not providing for yourself and making yourself whole and taking care of yourself, it's really hard to give to others. So you need to have self-care for yourself. And I'm not talking about self-care where you put on a eye mask and take a bath. I'm talking real self-care where you disconnect from work and don't bring it home for what it. Let's start that over. I'm talking about where you disconnect from work and don't bring it home with you. I'm talking about spending time with your friends and enjoying yourself. I'm talking about having dinner with your family and giving them your love and attention, and they're giving it back to you, and you're doing the things that are important to you. Not that your job isn't important, but come on, we have other things that we need to do for us, and there's nothing wrong with that. So this is just a little reminder that if you're feeling like I am burnt out and I need time for myself, that is fine. That's fine. And anybody that makes you feel like it's not fine, don't listen to them. Just say, oh, thank you for your advice.
I'm not going to take it because it's ridiculous.
I know that in the past, I wanted to be everything for everybody. You want to go out, you want to solve everybody's problems, you want to save the world, but you can't. You can't. But what you can do is take care of yourself. So I fluctuate, right? Like some weeks I can give so much and other weeks I can't. So I'm not saying you don't have to have a hard boundary like, okay, I will never work past 5 o'clock. This is my work-life balance. Hey, if you can do that and that's what you want to do, go for it. I'm not mad at it. But my point is, I'm not saying it has to be like that. It might be you just knowing when you need to take a step back. If you're like, you know, I'm extra tired, I'm burnt out, I'm grumpy, I'm not listening as much to my clients because I got a million other things going on in my head, that's a signal that maybe you need to take a break. They talk about mental health days. I don't know if anybody's ever heard about that. I've heard people say, now look, I'm not trying to get you in trouble, right? Sick days are for when you're sick, But also, what about a mental health day? I've had people tell me, like, you could be well physically and not mentally. If you're tapped out when you wake up in the morning and your mind's all over the place and you need a breather, to me, it's okay to take a mental health day. Now, you can't do it all the time. You can't call out every single week. But I'm saying, know yourself. Know when you've hit your limits. Know when you have nothing else to give. Know when you need a break and you need to recharge yourself, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Maybe if you have an awesome boss, they might be like, oh, wow, you've been working so many hours and you should just take the day off. But how many times does that happen? Odds are people are not going to do that for you. You're going to be responsible for yourself. And that's a good thing. You should be responsible for yourself. Have boundaries. So for example, if you know you're tapped out, maybe you have a coworker who can cover you for that day or something, and then you cover them on a day that you're not so tapped out, or whatever it is that you need to work it out, because we can't just be burning ourselves into the ground, running ourselves ragged. That's not cute. It is not good for us. It's not good for our clients. It's not really good for anybody, because you're also not that productive when you go into work and you're tapped out and you're just kind of staring at the screen, but you're not really doing anything. You're like kind of taking notes, but really you're just scribbling or something. I don't know. I think we've all had those days, right? Where it's like, I'm not really doing that much. And that's because you're burnt out. Know when you're burnt out. And you should be evaluating it before you're burnt out, because you don't want to run yourself into the ground, because then you have a lot of work to do to get yourself out of the ground. But if you notice it like a little bit before, like, okay, let me pump the brakes a little bit before I get to that point where I'm just totally tapped out and I feel like I need to lay in bed for an entire day and like rot in my room. That's dramatic, but you get what I'm saying? So I just wanted this to be your friendly reminder. And like I also said, it's okay if you do it for a little while. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I had jobs where I worked all the time and I learned a lot from it. I learned a lot about crisis intervention. I worked at a group home in STRTP with adolescents, and I was the only therapist for the house. So when things went a certain way and they needed a therapist, they needed me. And that's just what it was. And I would get phone calls all the time, and I mean all the time. But what sucked is then it limited what I could do in my personal life, because if I know I need to answer the phone, I can't be out at a concert or a show or something, because you're not going to be able to hear me. Or I'm not going to be out to dinner with a bunch of friends, because what happens if you call, okay, now I need to step out. And so it limited what I was willing to do, and that is not okay. Like I said, if it happens every once in a while and you're on rotation or something, fine. I had some jobs where I was on rotation every 6 weeks. Okay, I can give up a weekend every 6 weeks. That's fine. I will say this, and take it as you want to take it and do what you have to do for you. I had one job where you had to be on call, but you didn't get paid any extra for it. I had another job where you did get paid a stipend, because my regular business hours weren't on Saturday and Sunday. So if I have to be on call on Saturday and Sunday, that's not included in the job that I agreed to. So personally, I wouldn't take another job where I'm on call if there's no compensation, because now I'm giving up a weekend and I'm not getting anything for it. An employer might say, oh, well, it's worked into your salary or something. I don't know. You have to have your own discernment and understanding and evaluate the situation. But no, again, hey, we're all different, right? Do what you have to do for you. But I'm just saying, if I'm giving up a weekend, I need to be compensated for that. Just saying. Unless if it's in my private practice, which is different. Sometimes I know therapists who work on the weekends because a lot of people have open availability. If somebody works a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, a lot of people like weekend appointments. So I do know people who work on the weekend, but obviously that's different. It's private practice. You get paid per session. You're still getting paid to work on the weekend. So different types of things that we're talking about here, but I'm big on not giving up my weekends. That's important to me. I used to work weekends. At my last job, sometimes I had to work Saturdays. I worked at a halfway house. I had to work Sunday. Like, I'm done with that. So I don't want to, there's only so much I could say about this topic. So I don't want to talk your ear off, because honestly, it's just going to be a rant. But the point is, I'm here to tell you that it is okay to take care of yourself, regardless of you being in a field that takes care of other people and helps other people and supports other people. So do what you have to do. Maybe ask yourself some questions. When's the last time I did something for me? When's the last time that I recharged my battery? Ask yourself, what recharges my battery? How many times I talk to clients and they're like, I'm just so tired all the time. I feel worn out. And then I say, oh, well, what are some things that you like to do that make you happy or bring joy into your life? And they're like, I don't know. Well, it's really hard to recharge and pour into your cup if you don't even know what you like to do. So you have to figure that part out too. It can be different for everybody. I have a friend who she loves to do yoga. So her thing is, I do yoga, it helps me calm down, it's for your mind, it's for your body. Her thing is yoga. I have done yoga, but that's not like the first thing that I go to. I think more of going outside, sitting, reading a book, like letting my mind just totally pay attention to a book and a story in a situation where I'm forgetting about the real world, I'm in the sun, like that's what I think of. But different people are different. Somebody might be like, I don't even like to read books. What are you talking about? Somebody might say, I don't want to read a book. I still have to use mind power. I just want to lay out in a pool and listen to music and not have to think. That's fine. Do what works for you, but know what works for you. And I'm just going to say this, don't come for me. Drinking and smoking weed and doing whatever you do, that doesn't count. All right? Look, you could do it anyways. You don't have to listen to me, but I'm just saying it doesn't count. Why doesn't it count? Well, because first of all, alcohol is a depressant, and also you drink, haha, I'm having fun, and then you end up with a hangover. Like, I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but that's my opinion. I'm not saying you're a bad person if you drink or smoke. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying when you think of things that recharge you, try to limit needing substances to do that, because we want to do things that are healthy for the body. And as much as you might feel like it's fun to go out and get wasted, it's not fun the next day. And also it takes a toll on your body. And also it dysregulates you. Now, like I said, you do what you got to do. Look, I can't stop you, but personally, I would not add alcohol, smoking, drugs, any of it on the list of things that recharge you. So with that being said, I hope you have a great day. I hope you take care of yourself if it's nighttime. I hope that you have the best dreams ever and you go into a deep sleep, maybe put on a meditation, go on YouTube, look up something to meditate to, try to have a really good sleep. If it's during the day, I hope you turn on your favorite playlist and you're happy and you have a good time, or you go outside, enjoy the sunshine, read a book, do some yoga, dry your yoga mat outside, do whatever you have to do, but I hope you have the best time. And I will talk with you soon, and I'll be back with another video.